the dealer, okay?
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Also, I think you texted the wrong person. I don't know
Did I?
what you're talking about.
Really?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, sorry. Well, it's good for you too. Because someone asked me,
Will that
who
be
should
in
people
the-
call?
No.
MSP or CCSO to like whatever, it's both.
Okay, gotcha.
But thank you. Why did,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah.
That's okay.
We'll get up numbers. You guys good? Need anything? No? Okay. I'd offer you some beverages, but. So hospitable. Thanks. You come prepared today. I'm just gonna grab some of the cards. Yeah, no, absolutely, go ahead. I'll, make sure I get the more for you.
Just like set it up behind you.
Yeah. Even if you get a color shot of me standing or whatever with your phone at any point,
Sure.
then that would at least help us.
Hey, you can make something
Or
work
yeah,
sometime.
or maybe somebody else is
Fire
asking.
commission meeting right now, we have another interview
I
with the
would,
Fox.
I would like do this. I'm so,
No,
so
yeah,
I'm missing like
Yeah.
the top of the house
Yeah.
right now.
yeah. No worries.
All right.
There you go. All right, Matt Burns got 2 minutes. That's it, it's showtime.
Okay.
Also, is that the loudest clock ever? Can you hear it?
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just watch your step. And a tripod leg. Don't trip.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep, don't trip. Don't trip. Some obstacles there for you. Careful of those tripod legs.
Good morning.
Take a baseball.
Sorry, excuse me for a minute. I'm gonna just get our monitor up. A photo.
Where do you want me to, I'll go over here with the captain.
Okay, sounds good.
You wanna stand closer? No, hold on, please. Thank you, sir.
Morning, everyone. I just wanted to thank you for being here. I know it was very short notice yesterday. We only decided to do this yesterday afternoon, but it certainly made sense for us on our end. Just to introduce a couple of folks, we have some detectives from the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office here, as well as Detective Sergeant Lucas Hare with the Maine State Police, and Captain Donald Voss. So again, thank you for being here. The Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit called this press conference in conjunction with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, and we want to help bring attention to the disappearance of 67-year-old Mark Conley. Mr. Conley is a white male, 5'8", 200 pounds, balding hair, blue eyes, and a gray goatee. We do have a photograph of him. It is available that PIO Moss will share with you if you want a better copy of that photograph, but it is beside me up here on a monitor. Mr. Conley's family is very concerned for his well-being after not showing up for a Christmas gathering. His family has indicated that his extended absence without communication is very unusual for him. Mr. Conley was last seen on December 24th in the Lewiston area. Mr. Conley lives in Naples, and he drives a silver 2016 Jeep Patriot bearing Maine license plate 5823 X-Ray K-King, X-Ray K-King. So that should read 5823 XK. Mr. Conley's been known to frequent the Lewiston-Auburn area, Waterford-Harrison area, and the Portland area, but he does live in Naples. The Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit here in Southern Maine is assisting the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office with this missing person case. So anyone who has information concerning Mr. Conley's whereabouts is urged to contact the Maine State Police at 624-7076. That's the State Police Dispatch Center up in Augusta. Again, that number is 624-7076. Or the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office Dispatch at 893-2810. Again, that's 893-2810. As you know, some of the investigative details and strategies that we're using, we're unable to be sharing that with you at this time, but I'll do my best to answer a few questions if there are any. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Sorry, thank you. My name is Scott Goslin. I'm a lieutenant here with the Major Crimes Unit South.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Is,
And what's your name, sir? Sorry.
This is Matt Byrne.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
So Mr. Conley is 67. Is he employed? Is he retired? What brings him to those various geographic areas that are outside of the place that he lives?
So Mr. Conley, from what we've understood, is a former entrepreneur in the area. I think he had, for a length of time, he had worked on his own. Had owned his own business, and I think he's a longtime native of the state of Maine, unless I'm misspeaking there. Does that sound right, gentlemen? Thank you.
What brings him to those geographic areas that you identified that are not his home? In other words, does he work there? Does he have friends there? What brings him to these places?
So that's a good question. I think he certainly has friends there, whether or not that he's conducting business or transactions at those places. We're still trying to piece that together.
Is he still working?
I don't believe he's working at this time.
What kind of work does he do?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what kind of work he does?
I don't, no. Yes?
You mentioned Major Crimes Unit.
Yes.
Why are they being called in?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, thank you. So usually in cases like this where somebody goes missing, it's not necessarily suspicious that you might think that there's some kind of nefarious activity, but the family's certainly very concerned here. They're concerned because this is very unusual for Mr. Conley to disappear without communication, certainly around the time of the holidays. So this is very concerning for the family. And, you know, in this particular case, there are a lot of additional resources that we can bring with the Maine State Police to supplement the detectives and the detective work that's already being done by the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department. So it really makes sense for us to be involved as far as sharing the workload and the personnel.
You
Yes.
said he was from Naples, he didn't show up for a Christmas Eve event. I'd like to know where that event was, gathering, and he was last seen in Lewiston, and where was he seen in Lewiston?
So as far as where he was seen in Lewiston, I don't have that exact information. Does anybody know exactly where that location was? I know that, you know, as far as the information that we're able to share, where the gathering was, we're not gonna share that at this time. Yes?
I'm curious, was he leaving Lewiston, leaving Naples, heading to Lewiston? He didn't make it to the party, but somebody spotted him in Lewiston.
We're still trying to piece that together.
You mentioned that just because the major crimes unit was called in doesn't mean that there's necessarily anything suspicious about this, but is there any other indication of where he may have gone or why he may have left?
So, no, and that's one of the reasons why we need the public's help here. You know, one of the reasons why you're probably wondering, why hold a press conference for something like this? Why today? There was a press release that was put out at the beginning of the holiday weekend, but it really didn't get much traction, and we really didn't get a lot of tips and leads and information, people calling in like we would have hoped, like we would have expected under other circumstances. You know, maybe that's because of the holiday weekend. Who knows? But one of the reasons that we're doing this today is to try and draw more attention to this case, to see if we can get any information from the public. Somebody should have seen the vehicle. You know, you have to understand, you know, people that go missing, you know, obviously when people go missing, it's very easy for a person, you know, to kind of disappear. But a vehicle is, you know, you'd like to think that somebody would have seen the vehicle, or a vehicle would still be known to be in its last location, or, you know, it's a lot harder to find a vehicle. So, yeah.
Where did the last known whereabouts information come from? If you don't know where he was seen in Lewiston, how did you piece together enough to put that out publicly?
So we have witnesses, and we also have some investigative strategies and techniques that we're using that I can't really disclose right now.
So is this credit card activity? Is this cell phone pings? Is this bank card activity?
So Matt, it could be all of the above, and because all of those things that you're talking about are things that we're following up on, whether that's banking, social media,
Did the holiday
telephone.
interfere with your ability to get something like a warrant approved through the judiciary and then information back from telecommunications companies or bank providers?
I think that holidays and weekends are generally pretty difficult to get information back. And I mean, as you know, trying to get a hold of people on weekends, and even big corporations, trying to get a hold of people on the weekends can be very difficult. So all of the above.
Any depression, dementia, anything like that you guys are aware of?
So, you know, it's always a concern for us, and I think in this particular case, there may have been a little bit. So it's certainly not something that we're ruling out.
A little bit of which one?
Sorry, a little bit of possibly some depression. But again, you know, does that factor into the missing piece? It could. Any information the public can share with us to kind of help us figure that out would be greatly
It's
appreciated.
been 10 days, I mean, have you had any tips or sightings, or people calling you saying, we saw this Jeep, or?
We've had some tips, and we're still working on those and still trying to track that down and verify you know, whether or not that they're good tips, whether or not that they're erroneous tips. These are all things, when we get information from the public, we have to ferret out whether or not, it's a vehicle that's actually involved. They might not have gotten the license plate number. Maybe they saw just a Patriot vehicle driving by. So all of those things are important for us.
Mr.
Yep.
Conley, an Easy Pass customer.
Yeah, so all of the, again, investigative strategies and techniques. These are the things that I can't really get into right now. We're in the early stages. But yeah, all of those things we're looking at.
You mentioned the family too. I know there's a couple of sons, I guess, that have been,
That's right.
where do they live? And was he going to see them on Christmas Eve? I'm just trying to think.
So I believe it was a family gathering. I don't know where they live, Jim.
You
Yep.
you mentioned he was last seen in the Lewiston area, but
Yes.
he lives in Naples. Is there any indication that he may have returned home since he was last seen in the Lewiston area?
Possibly. Again, looking at what's going on with some of the information that we're gathering, it's possible at this point, but, really, we want the general public to be on the lookout in those particular areas, whether it's Lewiston, Auburn, Harrison, Waterford, Naples, and the Portland area. Yeah.
Is the reason why you're not sharing the location of Lewiston, because to me it would be helpful for us after here, we would go to Lewiston.
Of course.
If it was the corner of Maine and whatever, we go there.
Of course.
Why are you not sharing that information?
Well, I think there's still some verification that we need to figure out before we pass that information along. I don't want to give you bad information, Jim.
Is there any foul play that you suspect?
As far as suspect, in these cases, when a person goes missing under unusual circumstances, I don't think you can rule anything out. And I think it's important to kind of leave your options open, especially when you have somebody that may be suffering from depression. I think at this point, nothing's off the table. We want to consider it all.
In terms of his family, did he live alone? Was he married? Was he divorced? Obviously, he's got adult children. What can you tell me about his living situation? Did he, in other words, would his disappearance from his home be noticed by anybody near or in his home?
Right. Can anybody speak to that? He does live with his brother.
He lives
Right.
with his brother.
Right.
Okay. And history with potential drug use? It's uncomfortable, I know, but
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're not going to get into that right now.
Is there anything
Maybe
in
there'll
his
be an opportunity that we'll have to explain more about that.
is there anything in his history that might bring him into contact with people who could potentially cause him harm, in other words?
It's a hard question to answer. At this stage of the investigation, I think it's still a little early to say. So,
Was anything found regarding, obviously you're looking for his truck, but did he leave a cell phone behind, or is that missing as well? Wallet?
so as far as, evidence and things that might have been left behind, I'm not going to get into that right now. I just can't. Those are all things that we play
You said he was a
pretty
business
close to the
owner.
best.
What kind of business did he have?
He was an HVAC system operator.
So like a contractor?
I believe so, yeah.
Pretty uncommon to call a press conference for a missing person. Was it really the holiday? What was the reason for that?
Well, that's a good question, as far as whether or not it was the holiday or, it really did, the press release itself didn't get a whole lot of traction. So we felt like maybe having a press conference was something that would be beneficial so that we can get the information out there to the family. Not so much to the family, but for the family, so that the public could help us try and identify, where he might have last been seen, anybody who last saw him, where is this truck? It really didn't get any traction over the holiday weekend. So this was important for us to get out here, get in front of it, and see if we could get some help from you folks.
Is the family assisting, cooperating, and providing
Yes.
information through this?
Yes.
What's the brother got to say? I mean, if you live with them.
Yeah, it's not something I'm going to get into right now, Matt. Thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate you getting this information out there. This is really helpful. I'll be around afterwards if there is any additional questions that I can answer. Maybe there's some that I cannot, but I'm certainly willing to give it the effort. Okay? Thank you all.
Just spell your last name, please.
Yes, it's Goslin, Gossellin.
First name Scott.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Can you leave that up just for a second?
Absolutely. Does anybody, I have a picture here too,
Yeah.
if anybody would like to take a quick look at it.
That door.
Do you have his date of birth? Andy?
Just went off.
I don't have it handy. I want to say,
Could I circle back with Shannon about that? Because, people
absolutely,
only
absolutely.
for certain reasons.
I want to say, oh my God, I know, I'm pretty sure it's April 15th of 54, but let me just check on that.
That's fine, I can wait, yeah.
Oh, date of birth?
Yeah.
Do you know offhand? Because I can't remember.
I don't think I was ever, I think I was just given his age. Hold on. I don't think I was given his date of birth. You know, sometimes
sorry,
they'll tell me that
anybody-
vital information.
Can you put that back